Well, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've done a video. I'm always having projects that I'm working on, but I just don't video, well, hardly any of them. I don't know why, I just don't. But today, we're going to talk about my infamous distributor machine. I made some videos about this early on, and they got a lot of attention. A lot of people were asking me how I built it and everything, and I didn't go into too much detail about it, so I figured today I'm going to do that because I figure guys watching this are gearheads just like me, and you want a distributor machine yourself, but the old Sun distributor machines that are out there nowadays, when you're looking at them, guys want an arm and a leg for them, and they're really antiquated equipment. So here's my story. There's one I built, but let me back up a little bit. I actually own two distributor machines right now, a Sun 680 and a Sun 404. The 404 actually works. I've played with it a little bit. The 680 doesn't work. It needs a lot of work, but I thought that would be really cool to overhaul that one. It's just not really on my priority list. So let me tell you how I acquired those. I'm going to get right into this here pretty quick, but what I'm going to do with my distributor machine, by the way, is I'm going to show you how it works, but then I'm also going to whip out the old tape measure. We're going to take some measurements and see exactly what it took to build this one so you can build your own. And quite honestly, I think I'm into this one, I don't even think $100. So, like I say, years and years ago, I've always wanted a distributor machine, but every time I try to get one, either they're not available or the guys that have them almost always have more than one, but they never wanted to get rid of them. So bummer for me. So I went years and years and years without one of these. And then one day I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to build my own. And a couple years ago, I just jumped online, jumped in the old Google machine and typed in homemade distributor machine because I wanted to get some ideas. And there's a really cool article that came up. I'll put the link down in the description. And it's pretty cool. The guy showed all the parts he used, which is pretty much all this stuff right here. But I made a few changes to make it fit my design, make it fit me basically. So yeah, I'll show you that link. So I don't take credit for this at all. This was someone else's idea. But boy, I went to town, put this thing together. I was remodeling the bathroom and had some spare wood left over, and that's where most of this came from. So let me show you that this thing actually does work, and I got it set up so that I can just plug it into a car battery. You can set yours up to plug into the wall if you use like an inverter in this system. I wanted it to be portable so I could plug it into a battery just like it's in my car. So that's why I did it. And you'll see I got a red light right here. That just means there's power. I flip the switch on, it goes green. You don't need to have that. I just thought it's kind of cool. And then when you hit this little switch here, it actually works. The wheel spins. It actually creates spark. Pretty cool. The frame rate doesn't always pick this up. And you can go, increase the speed, turn it way up, turn it way down. Looks like I got this zoomed in pretty far. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. So the tack actually somewhat works. So that's kind of how it works, but we're going to break it down and show you what I did to make this thing work and go from there. You'll see I got a bunch of testing apparatus here. So this machine that I designed, or that I built right here, I have it set up so I can run with this wheel, or I can take the wheel off and run it without the wheel. Obviously, with the wheel on, I can't turn the RPMs up very high. Well, I can. It just doesn't spin very high because obviously that's rotational weight. And I'll show you the pieces I used for that, by the way, versus what was in the description online. And without the wheel on there, I can run it and lock out distributors and just play with a bunch of other stuff, do some coil testing, cap testing, module testing, whatever else. I got a bunch of modules right there. I test spark plugs. I test everything. I have an ignition system back here, and we're going to go into all this here shortly. By the way, when I built this thing, if you look at the one online, he shows all the parts he uses, which is really cool, but he doesn't have any measurements. And I see why he did that on purpose, because You can build this to fit a Chevrolet distributor, Pontiac, Ford, Mopar, whatever. Just build it to your specs. And then the base, obviously the height from here to here, and where your distributor fits is going to be specific to your distributor. And we'll take some measurements on all this stuff. That's going to be specific. But the base you can make as big or small as you want. I made my base specifically so I'd have a little room right here just to put tools or whatever. And my initial idea was to mount an ignition system back here. So that's why I left this part a little bit longer. I ended up not permanently mounting an ignition system there because I do have multiple ignition systems. That way I can just unplug this one, take it off, put the new system on without screwing stuff down. But let's get into this and see what's all in here. I'm going to pull the distributor and the little wheel off, which, by the way, the wheel, I didn't make these very tight. This wheel, if you look at the instructions online, he uses a degree wheel, which I did get a degree wheel. I did mount it up and put it on here, but they're really heavy. So when you go to turn this machine on and make it spin, it's pretty weighty, so it doesn't spin very well. So this right here is that corrugated, lightweight stuff. I forget, I don't know what it's called. I can put a link to all these parts, by the way, down in the description, everything I used. So I use this. When you make your wheel, by the way, make it a specific distance, because on mine, I marked it, all the degrees. I think this is a 7-inch or an 8-inch wheel. I'll put a tape measure on that. And then I used some math skills and figured out the degrees because I wanted to see how many degrees my vacuum canisters or my advanced rate was coming in. So that's what I put on there. The only thing I'm not really pleased with is this collar that I'm using, which when I take this apart, I'll show you why. It works. It just takes a minute to get it as even as possible. That way it doesn't flip back and forth when it runs. It's okay if it does, but if it flips too much, it's annoying. But yeah, let me pause this thing. I'm going to pull the distributor out so I can show you how I got spark plugs in here and why I have certain things the way I have it. So hang tight, let me readjust stuff, and I'll be right back. Okay, I had to get stuff rearranged right here real quick. So anyway, I just took the cap off. I'm going to pull the distributor out. I already loosened my collar. I guess I should turn the power off. Okay. So here's the wheel. I was telling you about. Let's measure this thing. So this wheel is roughly an 8-inch, about an 8.5-inch wheel, roughly. And as you see, this is just the corrugated. I can't remember what this is called, but I'll put a link in the description. And this collar is just something I picked up from Lowe's. This just a conduit connector. And I just screwed it on there, so it works. It was the closest thing I could find. But yeah, that works. And again, you just measure it, use the pi formula, however you do your math. Add, subtract, divide, carry the one, you know. And there's that. The next part we got is you'll see I have this plate right here. And I put a metal plate on for a few reasons. Number one, you need to have a ground system so that your distributor would actually make spark. Distributor does have to be grounded. And plus, I got these spark plugs in here, which I'll show you how I have these attached. It's pretty cool. You can actually change these spark plugs. You can pull these out, put different ones in. It's just a lot faster just to unplug this, put a spark plug in, and lay it down on the table, and it will spark. I got this screwed in here. I'll show you how that's attached. I'll turn this whole thing upside down and we'll look at the wiring and stuff too. But let's see, let's get some measurements here real quick because y'all are probably interested in that. For one thing, this table is 16 inches from the base up to the top of this top part. And again, this is for a Chevrolet distributor. So obviously your Ford, your Pontiac, and your BOPs, they're all going to be a different measurement, obviously. And the way you measure that, when you put your distributor in there, your distributor needs 2 points here and down here, where like it's going to ride in the engine block. That way it's stable. So just kind of measure once you put that up. Measure where you're going to put that right there. I'll take that measurement real quick. So we got 16 total. And then this board right here, the center of this board is 11 inches. And then the width on mine, from this board to this board, is 13.5 inches. From here to here is 12 inches. Front to back is 24 inches. And again, you can make yours as narrow or as wide, as long, as short as you want to make it. My goal was to make this portable, so I actually bring it with me if I want to take it somewhere and diagnose an ignition system on something not in my garage, you know. Or I also wanted a place where it was small enough that I could just store it and it's just out of the way. A few quick things. Let me take you out of here. The cool part to all this stuff is you can modify this to fit whatever you want. Let's start up here with the spark plugs. Actually, I'm going to need a wrench to get this off, so I'll show you that in just a minute. To make the whole works run, this is just a Ford blower motor, or actually a GM blower motor is what it is. I'll put part numbers to all these down in the description. It's just a blower motor. You don't have to use this style. You can use any other style you want. There's the smaller, without this plate right here, you can use the smaller round one. I forget the number of that. PM230 kind of rings a bell, but I don't think that's the right number. The tricky part, one of the tricky parts is making it so your motor will actually contact the distributor and make it turn. So there's your attachment point right here. This is the tricky part. This should be somewhat flexible. It shouldn't be a solid shaft because you do need a little bit of play there. So what I did with this, I took some tubing. I might have some around here. I'll see if I can find it. I just took some clear tubing that I had. Obviously it looks like it's blue tubing, but whatever. I put I think a smaller hose in there. I clamped it on. And then for this part right here, you take a oil pump drive. You don't take a good one. You take a bad one and you just cut it off somewhere right here. Then you put that in here, and then that's going to mate up with the bottom of the distributor. And that's not hard. That's just a tricky part, just to figure out, get the right parts in here. And that works very well. And I just have them clamped in place. Spins just fine. And you'll see right here where I have the distributor clamp. I didn't want to just screw it into wood, obviously. And there's a few ways to do it. I just took one of these. I don't know what it's called. I think it's a T-nut. I don't really know. I don't play with wood. But I'll leave part numbers again down in the description. But I figured out where that needed to be. I drilled a hole. I hammered that in. Bing, bada, boom. Now when I screw this in, it actually has a metal thread insert. They'll screw right in there. No big deal. And I'm going to turn this over in just a minute. But this is, I think, called a potentiometer. So this will turn the speed up and down. Obviously, you got a toggle switch to turn it on and off. I added the lights just for the coolness factor. I really need to label this stuff and make it look even cooler. Maybe I need to put a sticker on there, a holly sticker or something. I don't know. It's got to look cooler than this. It's pretty lame. But once I plug the power in, this light here comes on. It shows me I have power. When I flip it on, the green light comes on. It's unplugged right now because I don't want to shock myself. By the way, when you play with your distributor machine, once you get it up and going, number one, you're never going to leave the garage. Number two, you're going to shock the crap out of yourself numerous times, which is always fun. But let me pull one of these spark plugs out. So let me put you back up in here, because I'm going to need 2 hands for that, and a pair of pliers. So yeah. So these are just spark plug inserts or something. You can use whatever you want, whatever you can find that'll work. But it's, make sure I'm in frame here. This is all it is right here. It's 4 spark plugs, and this just screws in there. So the way I have it set up, so I just put it up in there underneath the plate, put this on top of the plate, screw it in, and it just sandwiches the plate and holds the spark plug in place. Does it need these? It doesn't need them. You can just have it sitting in a hole if you want, but whatever. I just want to do something a little bit different. So that's kind of cool. So there's that. I'm going to pull all the wires off. These spark plugs kind of suck because they don't have ribs on them, so these spark plug wires stick on there pretty good. I'm surprised they're coming right off, but I do use dielectric grease on these, so let's get this out of the way. Well, it looks cleaner already. Here's my pointer right here, which, by the way, when you make your wheel right here, after you get your diameter, I put a pin right here and a string, very non-technical, and I just drew a circle and cut it out with scissors. I mean, clearly it's not perfect, but what you want to do also is once you got your center in there, come down and draw your line. So right here, so it's straight. It doesn't matter where on the circle you draw a line, just put a line there and make sure it's straight. My line, when it's running, seems like it's off this way because I didn't think ahead. Doofus, but whatever. So that's one little tip I'll give you. My ignition system, let me get this out of the way. You can run any ignition system that you have. Let me show you one other thing. I decided to mount a tack on mine. This tack is probably 30 years old, and it actually quit working when it was in the race car. The needle will just bounce. I don't really need it for what I'm doing here. I just think it looks cool. But I think I will put a new tachometer there. I just mounted it right to the side. Again, these are just 2x4s right here. But let's look at the important stuff. So back here, you'll see my positive and negative post. I needed somewhere to hook the battery, obviously. And I need somewhere to plug my timing light into, so I use those right there. Those are just long screws. I'm going to flip this bad boy over if I can without creating havoc. Let me make sure I don't have anything up here that's going to spill, because I usually keep small parts laying up here. I don't see any. Maybe I've already lost them. I probably should tip it the other way. I don't know if it's going to matter. Whoa. Okay, hang on. I need 2 hands, and then we're going to try that again. Clearly, I didn't think this through, but that's okay. We're just going to wing it. Not sure what's going on there. Okay. Here's the cool stuff. So you see, it's just simply 2 2x4s standing up. The key was I wanted to make sure it had enough room that when I mounted the motor, I had room and the motor's just not sitting on the ground. I was going to zoom this out, and there's some wiring. So the positive and negative, I actually labeled them down here too, so I wouldn't get my wires crossed. They're just studs with nuts on them just to hold the wires. I'm running it through a relay. There's my on-off switch, and there's one light, and there's the other light. Then here is the, I think it's called a potentiometer. Again, I'll have a link for all this stuff down in the description. And then you can wire it however you want to wire it. But I did run it through a relay because every time I wire anything, I like to run it through a relay. Do I need to? Absolutely not. But again, I like to wire it through a relay. Now this is wired. I just took an old extension cord, by the way, and I cut it, put 2 ends on it. And so I use it with an extension cord. And at the end of the extension cord, I just put 2 clamps on it. And these will plug into a battery. And like I say, you can actually make this so you can plug it into a wall if you use like an inverter. I could have done that. I didn't. I just wanted it hooked up to a battery. I wanted it exactly like it was in the car. That way when I diagnose an ignition system, it's just like it is in the car. So there's some wiring. Got a couple fuses there. There's nothing complicated about the wiring. I mean, you have a motor. It has a hot in the ground. You obviously have a switch that turns it on and off, and you have power, so you can figure the wiring out. It's not that hard. But let me see. Let me throw a tape measure on here again. Let me zoom out a little bit. Well, let me try that again. There we go. And this plate, by the way, is just a piece of tin I had laying around. I put that on there just because it looks cool. So again, the length is, it's still 24 inches. It hasn't changed. I think I took all the measurements I need, so if you guys think of something else that I'm missing here, let me know. But anyway, it's pretty simple to do. Realistically, I think the most expensive part you're going to buy would be the blower motor. But they range from maybe down at $20 to however much you want to spend. I think some will go for $30, $40, $50, $60. I don't know. But you should be able to pick one up roughly for $30. And then obviously a relay, the switches and stuff like that's pretty cheap. That was fairly cheap. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, all you gearheads that have been wanting a distributor machine and you've never been able to get your hands on one of these, do this one. Trust me, it's way better. I much more enjoy this one than the old one. The old style, I ran that one over there. It's really loud, and I don't think it's really designed for modern electronic ignition systems. I've seen some questions online. Someone was asking, I just saw it on a forum just the other day. Someone was asking if it would run a Hall effect module or whatever. It'll run whatever you got it set up for. If it'll run in the car, it will run on this thing. Pretty simple. And again, you can try any ignition system with it. You can do all kind of stuff with this thing. There's something else I was going to tell you. I can't remember what it was. Again, as far as the special little parts you'd use, I liked that because it's a piece of metal for your screw to go into. I put the lights on just to make it look cool. You can put lights or whatever you want in yours. Draw a fancy design right there. Put stickers on it. I could paint this and it'd probably make it more valuable. I don't know. But I didn't get that far. So anyway, that's my distributor machine. And a simple build. I sure would love to see some of you guys build one of these and, you know, show us what you got. Your design might be a whole bunch cooler than this one. Again, this is one I just I saw the instructions online, and boy, it just got the gears turning. Got me excited. I went out in the garage. I think it took just a couple days to whip it together. Well, because I don't really play with this kind of stuff. And I wanted to try to get everything right. The hardest part was trying to decide how long or how big to make that base. I overthink stuff all the time, obviously. But again, my whole point was I wanted to make sure it had space here so I could put some tools there and not have them down here. And on the back side, I wanted to put different ignition systems. That way I could pick the whole works up and move it versus the ignition system on a table, and I'm trying to grab all of that at the same time. But anyway, another close up on some stuff. This right here, the little attachment that I have. This right here will just pivot right up out of the way. Oh, I screwed that down. Huh. Good for me. But yeah, this right here, you want to make sure this is somewhat flexible. It shouldn't be solid. I mean, I guess it can be, but you need play somewhere, I guess. I don't know. So there's that. Any questions, comments, marks, put them down in the comments. And like I say, I hope you guys build your own and post up some pictures, or find me on Facebook and shoot me a message and show me your deal, man. I want to check them out, because I want to make a new one of these and make it even cooler. I want to make a new one that can be adjustable. I had a friend come over during the summer, and he had a Ford, and I wanted to put the Ford distributor on here, but it wouldn't fit. One thing I would change, doesn't really matter, but if you were going to make this adjustable, is put like a switch, a reverse switch in here. Most of these motors will spin both directions. Some say clockwise only, but it's an electric motor. Electric motors don't care how they're wired generally. They'll spin because that's just how they are. But a lot of these blower motors, you'll see the reverse direction. So anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And with that, I'm out. Thanks for watching. See ya.